G'day students, future chefs, and parents. My name is Chef Taylor Trombetti. You can call me T Squared. Chef T Squared is appropriate. And today I'm going to show you how to make a patty melt. The patty melt was invented in the early 1930s after the prolific hamburger or cheeseburger took over the whole country of the United States. Now a man by the name of Tiny Naylor from Los Angeles came up with the popularization of this sandwich. He's not credited with making up the patty melt, as it is just a decomposed cheeseburger recomposed with some rye bread and Swiss cheese and Thousand Island dressing, that he made this popular in LA, Los Angeles in the early 1930s. Due to the fact that the cheeseburger was so popular, some restaurants were trying to find another avenue to get people into their restaurant and try a different sandwich that was much like the cheeseburger, thus the patty melt. So today I'm going to take you through all the ingredients, equipment, and techniques you will be doing to make thus the patty melt. These will be the tools that you will be needing. One chef's knife, 8-inch or larger. Sharper is better and safer. One butter knife, not sharp and very safe. One metal spatula. They all come in many different lengths, sizes. Some come with holes in it, some do not. It's okay if they have holes. One wooden spoon of any variety, bamboo, oak, maple, whatever you like. And they can have holes, flat edges. The wooden spoon just is a non-reactor, so it won't react with the pan. Metal on metal is not always a great thing to use. And then one soft spatula. Some of these have white heads. This one has a red head, and it's a little tiny one, about 6 inches, but you could use one that's maybe 10 to 12. And that's just easy to get on the side of the bowls, and it could bend to the side of the bowl, as you can see here. And you could get all the material out of your bowl. Next, we'll show the equipment you'll be using and handling for preparing this recipe. Cooking equipment will be as follows. Some stainless steel bowls, very good to work with, very forgiving. If you drop it, the food might be wasted, but the bowl won't, so you won't have to clean up twice. It won't be ceramic all over the floor. But let's hope you don't drop your food. We have two 10-inch pans here. One for the onion cooking that I'll do on the open pan, and we will cook our meat in the other pan. And then we'll put the cover on top of that pan and melt the cheese. And it's just easier to use two pans for showing this recipe as I'm doing it. And last but not least, your handy cutting board. Best thing to do with a cutting board is take a wet towel or paper towel and put it underneath, and that will anchor your board and it won't make it move. This board is made with toggles on the bottom that actually have rubber, so it makes it stay and it won't move upon pushing it. But on most cutting boards, you need to anchor it, and that's what we call it in the restaurant business, anchoring your board with some type of wet applicant. I would just use a towel or a paper towel. Okay, so these are all the ingredients that are provided to make the recipe. First, you have your Swiss cheese. Any Swiss cheese will do. You could use any cheese after we do this recipe together, because the patty melt and envy in all recipes could be changed. So if you like provolone cheese better, you could use provolone, American, so on and so forth. I have rye, and for Rosh Hashanah, I did the pumpernickel rye this week, so Shana Tova to all my friends out there. And I have some chopped beef. This is 85 lean, 15% fat. That's basic normal for most of you people, home cookers out there. If you want to go 80-20, that's fine, or higher and lower in fat. That just means that when you cook it, there's going to be 15% of fat that comes out of here. So if you're cooking a pound of beef, 15% of that is going to be some fat, so you'll lose it. So it won't be a pound in the end. It'll be about 8.5 ounces. Or I mean 14.5 ounces. Then you have a small onion. Yellow onion's fine. Thousand Island dressing. Your favorite company. Wishbone's the norm. That's where you see everywhere. So I had grabbed a bottle of Wishbone. But again, Whole Foods and many other places make much better sauces that are made with less oils and ingredients. So have at it with whichever Thousand Island your likeness is. Salt and pepper, kosher salt for pinching. Now pinching, as you can see, I use my 3 fingers here. And it's a technique we use. It's about a 1/4 teaspoon to an 1/8 of teaspoon. My hands are pretty big, so I probably get a 1/4 to a 1/2 teaspoon of each pinch. And when you pinch together, you're going to just rub your thumb on your pointer finger and on the edge of your middle finger. And that will spread it evenly. To practice spreading, I use this pan I have here. And I just kind of go back and forth to practice even spreading. And then I don't waste the salt. I could pick it up later and put it back in here. Basic pepper. I like a pepper mill if you have one of those. Just fresh ground pepper tastes so much better. And then unsalted butter. Unsalted is great because you're already putting salt in the recipe, so why add even more to it? You could gauge your salt better just by using unsalted butter at any and all times. So that's what I like to use, and in most restaurants that's what they use as well. So you're not getting too much salt. I'm just flicking the excess salt off my finger there. And then if you do not want to use butter, you could use extra virgin olive oil. You have the Pompeian here, you can find it anywhere, or canola oil, or any vegetable oil you like. I would not use coconut oil at all. Most recipes and Pinterest nowadays ask you to use coconut oil, but that does not have a high cooking temperature, and all the benefits that you would get from the omega fats and lipids would actually cook off at that temperature. So you're really just wasting money because you're going to burn all those good nutrients when you're cooking at such a high temperature. So again, even extra virgin olive oil is not the best thing to use. I would use regular blended oil, which is extra virgin blended with canola, or some type of cooking oil. Favorite is corn, because that has a little sweetness to it. Okay, the major prep you have, or preparations you have in order to make this meal possible, is just dicing an onion. Now, dicing an onion, or in French is ciseler, is you're going to start with holding it on its side. Now, this is the root end of the onion. As you can see, it still has some dark roots on it. Like, you get it close to the camera there, you can see they're kind of brown, and that's where the root would sit into the ground. And then this right here is the flower end. And as you can see right here is where it would come together, and you would see those green shoots pop up like a scallion, and it would shoot about 8 to 9 feet out of the ground. And that's an onion flower. So that's the flower end, and this is the root end. You want to cut closely to the root end so the onion stays together, so it's still rooted. And then on the flower end, you'll take off about 1/8. So about that much there. And over here, we're going to take off a shaving, as you can see where my knife is. So I like to do the root end first. And as you can see, I have 2 bowls in front of me on my cutting board, or in front of my cutting board. The left bowl will be for scraps that I save and will use later. And the right will be for my finished product. So now I get all the cuts in. So as you can see, that's the top of the onion where the flower would be. And that's still the root. And I kept it intact. Now you'll see why I kept it intact for the next cut. Now we're going to cut it straight in half. I like to put my fingers together. And when you hold the knife, always pinch the knife here. Don't go like this. It's too much pressure. Here is just right. Push down. And then we're going to put our flat sides down and not hold our knife anymore. Now you'll take 1/2 of the onion, and with your thumb, you will peel back 1 layer or 2. You don't want any brown or green really on your onion. Nobody likes the flavor or look of it. So I'm just trying to get under there with my finger. As you can see with my thumb, helps a lot. And I could really peel away at the ugly part of the onion. Now I see I have some green there, so I'm gonna pull it away. Again, it's not wasteful if you don't like it. So that looks prettier, and the rest of this will be used for stock or soup. So I have 1/2 onion done. Let's do the other half. And again, it's like shucking corn sometimes. If you want to peel a few more layers than one to be done quicker, efficiency is king. So feel free to do that. Now cutting the onion. As you can see, my sides are a little loppy. It's been a while since I've cooked in the kitchen, so. Now we're gonna cut in rows. So you'll see I'm gonna go about 1/4 inch. And I'm not cutting all the way through. That's why I left the root end on, so it stays together. And that makes it easier to cut. Now I have rows done, and I'm going to turn my onion to the right once, and then cut again another 1/4 inch down. Be careful of your fingers. I bend mine, but I make it look much easier than it actually is. Nice easy strokes, push down. And when you get towards the end, don't even waste your time cutting that because it's too dangerous. Now to take your onion off the board, I like to move my board to the edge of the table. I'll take my bowl, flip your knife over so the flat side is down, and you'll drag the onion off the board into your bowl like a pro chef. Now if you use the other side of your knife, you're dulling it and making a really bad noise. And when you hear that in the kitchen, you know somebody hasn't been in the kitchen too long. Again, with the second piece of onion, we're gonna turn it so it's facing you. Again, I have the flower end and the root end. The flower end is facing me. Believe it or not, it is softer on the top, so it's easier to cut through. I have my long cuts done. Now I'll turn it once and cut my dice. Flip my knife over, put my onions in said bowl, and now I'm done with my prep. Now while the burger patty is working, and working I mean cooking, you're going to season your bread with some butter. So you'll take your butter knife here, and I like room temperature soft butter at all times, so make sure you pull your butter out at the beginning of making this recipe. And you take about a tablespoon of butter, or a little bit less, and give it a good smear or spread on your bread. Now you could be very liberal here, meaning you could put a lot. We say fat is flavor, butter is fat, so it brings a lot of flavor to many and all dishes, as most of you parents know. Now again, I'm just going to butter one side of the bread here, because the other side is going to be getting the Thousand Island dressing. Now this is a good time to practice your pinching and spreading of salt. You can never practice that enough. So we're going to season the bread. I'm taking a pinch right here. And that's good enough for both slices. I'm just gonna hold my hand up high about 1.5 feet above the bread here and spread it. Now holding your hand up high gives an even spread of salt. If you hold your hand close, you're only going to drop salt in that one spot. But if you hold your hand high, it gives an opportunity for all salt to travel around the world that is marble bread tonight. Next, we're going to be making our patty for the patty melt. Now I realize that I wrote 6 inches, 6 ounces, excuse me, for the weight of the burger. Now, if you got a package like this, you're gonna wonder, how do I know what 6 ounces is? And this is my mistake by writing the recipe I did, because I assumed most places, and most, make 6 ounces pre-made burgers. So if you didn't have that luxury, you're going to grab a measuring cup. I have a 1/4 cup size measuring cup here. And you're gonna measure out your 6 ounces. This won't be perfect, but it will get you the size burger patty that we're talking about here. So I'll just take some of my meat. You could have a glove on if you like, but I like to get my hands in there. And I kind of just lightly press it. I don't want to work too much with the meat. So that's give or take 2 ounces. Okay, I'll do another one. Since that one was larger, I'll do this one a little less. That's another 2 ounces. And we'll call that 2 ounces, okay? Now you're going to take your 3 balls and you're going to squeeze them together with your one hand and then introduce your other hand. Now what I like to do is press the patty, I'll press the ball into my hand and form it once. There's our patty, okay? It's about a 1/2 inch thick and it's got a form now. I like to take my middle finger and make a C with my thumb, and I like to move the patty with my other thumb and my other finger on the bottom, or all fingers, whichever you want to use, and I'm just rotating the burger and I'm making this patty. This is just making it even, as you can see my thumbprints as I'm going around the burger. And then again, you can put it in the palm of your hands, make it thinner. As you can see, I tuck my thumb in there to make it stay on my hand more. Now again, you could use your bread to size up how you want your patty. So our rye bread was a little longer than round, more of an egg shape. So I like to press it together here in the middle and then push it out from the middle. You always want to do that. First, push from the middle out when you make your patties to spread them. Pie crusts, doughs, everything gets pushed from the middle out. And as you can see, it's not perfect, but it's a patty. And that's going to work on our rye bread. Now the next thing you want to do is season your patty. I like to season my meat before we cook it, especially with salt. It penetrates more, and with beef, you know you need a lot of salt to bring it flavor. So again, my pinch. You should be becoming a pro now with the pinching. You're going to take your patty, put it out, and spread salt liberally on one side. Now you can flip the burger patty and do salt on the other side again. I'm a big fan of pepper, so I'm going to put a good amount of pepper on this patty. Again, I'm doing this over the bowl, and you'll see why. All that seasoning that fell off, I'm going to drop my burger into and just press it so it picks up all that salt and pepper. Again, you can hit it on the sides here, so every piece of meat here has seasoning on it. And now we're ready to cook. All right, so now we're going to begin cooking, and we're going to turn our burners on. So the back burner, I said one is going to be on medium heat and one's going to be on low heat. The low heat is just going to be a pan that's going to be preheating for our meat. So low, or you could keep it off, but I like to season the pan. We call that seasoning the pan, when you get it nice and hot before you use it. So I'll season the pan for 5 to 10 minutes while we cook the onions. The onions are going to be on medium heat and get cooked first. So I like to put them on the front burner. So we have them both on high. I'm gonna turn this one down to medium and the back one down to low. You could barely see it. Put my pans on. One without the lid. And we'll let those preheat for a moment. Now for video purposes, I moved the other pan back to a different burner just so you can see the whole process here. So I have the pan on, getting nice and hot. Now how do you know when the pan is hot? Real simple. You could go to your sink and grab some water just with your fingertips and do the spread, and you'll hear if the pan is hot. Another trick too is to put your hand on the pan quickly and see how hot it is. But water's best and safe, and you don't feel it, so use water. Now what we're going to take is our butter with our soft spatula. Take about a tablespoon or a tablespoon and a half. Put it in our pan, and it's going to start melting. At this point, you could start spreading your butter so it's evenly on the pan. But you don't want to cook your butter here. Okay, your butter's melted. Now we're going to add all of our onions. You could use your hand and or your soft spatula to get all the onions out and break them up a little bit with your spatula, and you're done with these two tools, so you can put them in the sink. Next, you're going to season with a pinch of salt, and a pinch of pepper. And then you could go ahead and turn your heat up to medium high, just so we could quicken up the process here and get some color or browning or caramelization on our onions here. And you can see I had some rogue cuts, so I'm just using my spoon to push through those terrible cuts. Again, COVID has changed life for all of us. So a little rust here and there doesn't hurt anybody. There we go. And as you can see, they're starting to already gain some color and look delicious. So I'm going to let these cook for a few more minutes, and I'll show you what that's going to look like. Alright, so now we have our onions finishing, and as you can see, they got some nice color, or browning, as I like to say. And we can put that on low heat or turn it completely off and put it to the side. And now we'll grab our other pan to start working our burger patty. Alright, so onions are cooling nicely, and I have my pan that's already seasoned, aka already pretty hot, but let's prove it. Some water, and you can see that cooks off immediately. So my pan is nice and ready for the burger. Going to take my butter knife and some butter I'm gonna slap it right into that pan and wipe the excess off on the edge of said pan. We don't want to waste any food, especially butter. Now again, you want to cook this at a higher temperature, but not so high that you sear the meat on the outside and it's raw on the inside. Unless that's something that you like, then by all means, be a carnivore. But I spread my butter as I did before. I'll take my burger patty and I'll put it right in my pan. I'll press it down just a little bit for the middle out, because the burger is going to shrink as all that muscle tightens up as it cooks. When you introduce heat into something, right, it tightens up. Just like if you have a burn, it tightens up on your hand or finger, and it doesn't feel pleasant. Now as your burger cooks, your onions should be cool, so we can get them out of that pan. Take your onions and I like to put them back into a new stainless steel bowl. Now when you're cooking your burger, you can put a timer on for 3 minutes on each side. And that's really great to use, as the timer is going to tell you when the burger is done. But I've done this a couple times, so I'm just going to let the camera roll and you'll see the burger work the whole time. And business never ends, so we always have other things going on, which is fine. I'll let the burger cook a couple more minutes, and then I'm going to take the back side of my spatula and check out how it's doing. Alright, so I let our burger cook for a few moments, and now I'm going to take the back side of my spatula. This is a little technique to learn, and my fingers on the raw side of the burger so I don't get burned. And I'm just going to check on the doneness. And we'll see there, I see browning, so that's great. I'm going to flip my spatula over this way now, and I'm just going to flip my burger. Again, guiding it with my fingers, and I'll flip it down. Now you can give it one press here, maybe two, but that's about it. I do not want to squeeze all the fat out of my burger. That's a big misconception of people pressing down on their burger like you would see in the movies or on SpongeBob. It's not the way to cook a burger. And as you can see, I have that beautiful caramelization, Maillard reactions. We'll get into that another time, what that means, on top of my burger here. And as I'm rubbing my spatula, I feel the crust of it. Now a few more minutes, we'll let the other side of the burger finish cooking. Alright, working on angles here as I go. So I have my onion pan, not clean at all, still has some onion residue in there, but that's good for flavor. The burger is over here finishing on my left hand side, and I have my heat on medium to medium high. We're going to be toasting our bread now on one side. So the bread is already seasoned with butter, salt, and pepper. This is a non-stick pan, so I do not need to put any more butter down. And as you can see, there's already some fat that's still hanging out here. Yes, that's some fat. So I'll take my 2 pieces of rye, and I'm going to put one piece down away from me, like this, and the other away from me, like this. I like to push them away because they have fat on them, and God forbid if I put them down this way, the fat jumps out of the pan and onto my stomach, and I have a new tattoo, or my first tattoo. So now I'm going to let my bread cook or toast. You could use a toaster oven as well, but there's something about the bread on a flat top picking up residue of whatever was cooked before it that makes this sandwich so much better. Don't be afraid to move your bread around from the top because this won't be hot. So you can just push it around the pan so that all edges get even browning. And we'll let that cook for about 1 to 2 minutes. You could use your spatula you use for the burger to again use the one side angle down, and you could just take a peek at it to see if it's brown. And we got a little color there, but nothing yet. That's making me so happy. Alright, as our bread finishes, we're going to start composing our sandwich, building our sandwich. So now we're going to take our cooked onions that I have right here on my right. And I'm going to take a spoonful of those cooked onions, or you could use your hand. I'd rather you use your hand. And you put those onions right on top of the burger. Just so that they stay there. And now you're going to take your 2 pieces of Swiss cheese. And you're going to blanket them right on top of those onions and say goodnight. I like to put the other piece of cheese just like that way, so it covers the whole area of the burger. But you could put it on however you like. Be creative. Take your lid, and you're going to put your lid on your sandwich here. And you're going to let that melt for about 1 to 2 minutes. Okay, let's take a look at our finished product here. That looks pretty good. Pretty melted. I like that. Next we're going to build our sandwich here. Alright, our last step here is our building of our sandwich, our patty melt. Our adventure comes to an end. So I have the toasted bread. The one side should look nice and beautiful brown. The other side soft and absorbs this. I'm going to make up that word. It's going to absorb some nice Thousand Island dressing. Wishbone again. I'm going to put a little bit, tablespoon on each side. Maybe less, maybe more, however you're feeling saucy. Spread it. Push it away. Come together. You're going to get a little messy here. That's fine. Okay. That's enough Thousand Island for me. I don't eat it so often, so it's pretty pungent. You take your pan and your spatula. I like building things on these pans because they're heat resistant. And I'm going to take my patty and put them right on there. Take the top piece of bread, press down like so. Turn my sandwich, and we're going to cut it on a diagonal. And there you have it. This is your patty melt. Let's get a good close-up of that. And there is your patty melt. So you have your marble rye. There's some Thousand Island under there somewhere. Your cooked beef, your onions, your melted Swiss cheese, and then your top piece of rye bread. It's been really fun cooking with you today and teaching. Parents, if you want to pair this with a healthy substitute of French fries, I would do carrot sticks and or applesauce. That hits all the feels with this sandwich, and it cuts through all the fat that you'll be eating with the cheese, butter, and chopped beef. Until next time, I'm Chef T Squared. Be well. And that's our patty melt. So If you have any questions, comments, and concerns, please email me at trumbetti@gmail.com. Otherwise, enjoy your creation and have some fun with it. This week, if you want to make it again, use some different bread. Use a different type of cheese. If you want to use chopped chicken or chopped turkey, you could use that. Be a chef about it. Have fun, and until next time, I'm Chef T Squared.